Hey, what's up, y'all? Smitty here. I'm talking here about this. Like I have seen the video, and this is like this is a partial response. I kind of have a differentiating viewpoint from what was stated previously by Versuz, and also this is also in kind of response to my own video that I did in retrospect of when you're talking about players' sizes being respected in full. You look at cause like as you seen in his video, he had made a 400-pound wide receiver that was 5'8". You know what I'm saying? But he had these superior abilities. He gave him these abilities of having great quick feet, great speed bursts, good route running, things of that nature. And likewise, he had a 150-pound running back with a bulldozer. He was able to charge, and he was busting up, knocking over linebackers and everything else multiple times in multiple instances. Now, I do respect where he's coming from on that video, and I did agree with where he was coming from. But the part that I have to do, like, no, not really disagree, but the part that has to be understood is that when you're a game developer and you're making these games and you put in a feature like for someone to create a player, you're like realistically you're gonna do motion capture. I'm pretty sure the people at 2K Sports were doing motion capture for players that were going to realistically reflect their positions. Like, I don't think that they would call in an O lineman who would be like, like 300 plus pounds and come in and say, hey, let me put you in the slot. Let me get some wide receiver animations. Let me see you on a go route. Let me see you let me see you do a in and out route, a 10-yard in and out. Let me see you do a 5-yard turnaround and curl. Like, I highly doubt that they brought in, what I'm saying? Like, I highly doubt that they'll bring in like a player of that size, of that magnitude or what have you, and actually say, let's get some mocap animations in terms of you playing a position that you never even play. Just for the sake of saying, just for the sake, just in case that somebody wants to create the oddities all of a sudden and wants to just put, create a team of a bunch of oddball players that absolutely distort physical reality in terms of what abilities they would have. And my thing in regards to that is that when you, like I'm going to call it Frankenstein the game, you can't expect realistic results to come out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're realistically, like, that's what a game studio does. That's why in retrospect, Madden, when I did my video on Jose No Way, and RyanMoody did his video with Rick No Ankles, you seen that their weight didn't play a factor. Like, my character, his weight did not play any factor. The only variable that he had was the speed. And because the only reason why he was slow and didn't have good acceleration was because I made him that way. If I gave him 99 speed, his weight would not have been reflected in any way. He would have went on a hit. He would have been trucking right past Isaac Bruce, which we all know very well. There's no way no man 400 pounds at 6'4" is about to catch up, and actually he wouldn't even come remotely close in reality. So that's why these people use a attribute-based system. Not attribute, a ability-based system, so that you can realistically reflect a linebacker by their abilities, or a halfback by his abilities, and so on and so forth with the different positions. But you can't. That's a Frankenstein type thing. Like, if I create a 7 foot, I could create a 7 foot 100. If I made a 7 foot 150-pound wide receiver with blazing speed and he could break tackles like none other, and he could bull rush like none other, like that wouldn't even be realistic. He'd get cracked. You know, like one good shot, he's cracked. That's it. It's over. There is no that would not realistically come to pass. You see what I mean? So if you're gonna make a character like this, this is why, like I brought up the abilities. This was somebody had posted up on Game Facts, and I brought up the actual abilities. Like when you realistically create a player, this is what the development team at 2K Sports had in mind. If it's going to be a D lineman or what have you, if you're going to make a guy who's 400 pounds at 5'8", I could see, like, it would make sense to say, okay, I'm going to give him an ability like he could bull rush. I'm going to give him bull rush. You would give him something like, let me see, like big hit because of his size. Pass rush bonus, you know, because once again his size will play a factor in that, and also I would want him to be skilled. Sack master, you know, because he's particularly skilled at sacking, because he wouldn't be great at chasing down a wide receiver because he's too huge. You know what I'm saying? And I'll probably give him a strength bonus on top of that, which I know they're like, like a strength bonus or something like that, or a stamina bonus. You know, like that. Those are like realistic abilities that you give to a player of that size. And likewise, if I'm gonna make a 150-pound halfback, I would probably give him, like, realistically, going up here, I would give him finesse. You know, I would definitely, like, realistic abilities would be giving him something like finesse, like workhorse, arm of steel, stopping on a dime, scissor kick, goal line dive. You know, like a player like, an ability like that would be realistic. You know, like cutback ability, breakaway burst. You know, those are the kind of moves that you give to somebody of that size. Now, if I chose to come up and make a player unrealistic like that, then I'm Frankensteining the game. You know, I can't Frankenstein the game and realistically hold the company accountable and say, well, how come you're not respecting the physics? Because that's unrealistic. They don't spend time in the studio creating oddities so that, you know, people can come up and just get silly with it and make all kind of crazy players. I mean, realistically speaking, you know, like that. This is how these games honestly are done. Like these are the kind of abilities you put in. Same thing with Madden and their attribute system. Even if you make a guy all nines, they're not spending time in the studio mode capping for a 400-pound receiver, you know, or nor are they taking nor are they taking a halfback and saying, let's throw you on the D line. You know, let's see what kind of defensive moves you got on the line, you know, against an offensive lineman. Like, no, they're not gonna take a 150-pound, you know, halfback. You know, I mean, not 150-pound, like a halfback period. And they're not gonna put him on the defensive side of the ball and say, okay, let's see what you could do at linebacker. Let's see what you could do at defensive tackle or defensive end. Because that's unrealistic. That's not, like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to realistically pit him up against a battle like that to truly reflect his weight in that sense. So that would be completely unrealistic. That's why when you see in the games, they can't truly reflect it. You see what I'm saying? Like, they try to reflect the weight, but you can't truly reflect that in an animation to hold its truest extent, because the reason why is that they're not spending the time to actually take a lightweight defensive lineman like that and actually put him up against an offensive tackle that's like double his weight and actually capture that on camera to put into a game, so then you can create, you know, oddities all over the field. So I just had to point that out, but just wanted to tell that, you know, when it comes to these abilities, you have to create a player in respect to the game, in respect of the actual ability and skill and weight, you know, and don't come out expecting some, all of a sudden, make a guy 400 some odd pounds or make a guy extremely light or extremely heavy and say, how come everything's not being reflected in terms of weight? How come he's able to go that fast? Plain and simple, it's because you gave him the ability. That's it. You Frankenstein the game. You know what I'm saying? You went to the lab and you chose to make your own personal Frankenstein and put the oddity out there on the field. So this is Smitty. Just had to express that. All right, y'all. I'll holla at y'all later. Peace out.